More now on what may have caused the collapse. According to the New York Times, experts who have examined footage of the disaster are focusing on a spot in the lowest part of the condo complex, possibly in or below the underground parking garage, where an initial failure could have occurred. There's also questions surrounding the 2018 report from an engineering consultant that warned of major structural damage at the condo complex. The engineer's report found alarming evidence of damage to the concrete slab below the pool deck and abundant cracking and crumbling in the underground parking garage of the building. The report noted that much of the concrete and rebar damage was probably caused by persistent water leaks and years of exposure to salt air. A multi-million-dollar repair project was scheduled to get underway soon. Joining us now, Greg Batista. He's a professional engineer who specializes in concrete repair and worked on the Surfside Condos pool deck in 2017. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm curious if you know what was used to fill in the cracking, whether it be underneath the pool deck or underneath the condo itself, where they had noticed significant damage.
Well, I can only tell you what I've seen from the reports from the engineer that did the report. You can tell that there were some cracks, quite a bit of cracks that were occurring there. And you can tell that they did some sort of epoxy injection, which is taking like a super glue that hardens much harder than what the concrete is, and it's just injected into the cracks. Other than that, there weren't too many signs of any substantial repairs that I was able to figure out from the report. But from the report, as you said, there needed to be some significant repairs to this project.
And when you inject this sort of super glue, the epoxy, into these cracks, is that a proven safe, permanent fix?
In many instances it is, but what happens here sometimes, and I've seen this up and down the coast on the hundreds of buildings that I've inspected, that sometimes it's easy to confuse a crack sometimes that is just basically a crack where the slab fails with a crack where you have an underlying piece of steel that's corroding. If you have that kind of issue, which in our engineering lingo is called a spall. When you have underlying corrosion with the steel rebar and you inject this epoxy in there, there's no way that the injection is going to repair the underlying corrosion.
Right.
So I mean, that along with a confluence of many other issues could be at stake here.
So is there a way of knowing from what we're reading in these inspection reports that have been revealed how long the cracks were there before they used the epoxy? You just wonder if the erosion is in there, and if the epoxy doesn't help it, could it continue to fail?
Well, yes, of course. That's one of the issues I come across with many times. In addition to the thing is that this is so complex and there's so many items at play here, and you can have a crack, and that could linger depending on what the underlying issue is. If this was a spalling, like I've said on many occasions, this is like a cancer, and you have to repair it. You have to cut out the entire concrete, and you have to go through the proper procedures to repair it. And that is a very expensive and lengthy kind of process. And knowing what I know from the proposed repairs that were in the $9 million range, then that sounds about the right ticket price for a job this substantial.
Oof.
That is a theory here since the moments of the collapse was the impact of the sea air, that salty sea air on the building, which of course raised a lot of alarms for Americans who have homes or live in buildings along the coast anywhere in the country. Just from your expertise, whether on this building, but also just more broadly, what impact does being on the ocean like this, being in that salty sea air, have on the structural integrity of a building?
Yes, I'll go back to the spalling, and I go back to the spalling because it's just so prevalent on the coastline buildings. Again, you have concrete, which is inherently porous, If you get a microscope and you go into the concrete and you go in there and you see a bunch of holes, it almost looks like a sponge. So chlorides that are in the air, and chlorides come from salt water and they come from different items. But when those chlorides seep into the concrete, it damages the steel that is an integral part of the structural integrity of a beam or a column or a pile cap. And little by little, over time, it takes its toll. And I've been part of projects where there have been collapses that, due to this corrosion and due to the fact that people either by ignorance or they kick the can down the road because these repairs are expensive, these kind of things happen. I have seen collapses. Now, of course, not nearly as big as something like this. I've seen collapses on floors, on single columns and things like that. But when you have this kind of spalling and you have one beam or one main column give, the rest of the building can come down because everything's tied into everything else. And of course, it's very strange that only spalling could cause something like this. But when you put that together with perhaps human error, or perhaps the building had a lot of weight on the top, or perhaps there was a worker down there, maybe he cut something that he should not have cut, maybe it was a sinkhole. Right now, it's all conjecture at this point. But I was present at a engineers conference. It just so happened in Orlando, and I had the old plans, the original plans. I had the inspection reports. I had the different pictures, and we all got together. I'm talking about structural engineers with 20, 30 years of experience, and we're all scratching our heads. But this is the kind of scenarios that we were looking at and coming up with all sorts of theories. But at the end of the day, it's these experts that are there in the field that are trying to piece together this extremely complex puzzle that we'll just have to wait and see if and when we can get some more light on the actual origins.
So, Greg, there are thousands and thousands of people that are living in buildings like this up and down the coast. Condos built in the boom of the late 70s, early 80s, pre-Andrew, where the building codes just weren't stringent. And they're wondering, are they safe? Are they safe in Fort Lauderdale? Are they safe in Boca? Are they safe up and down the coast? What would you say to them?
I would say to them that as opposed to other countries that I've been to, for example, when I was there a few days after the Haiti earthquakes, and I was extremely surprised that they had absolutely no building code, nothing to fall back on. And look what happened. However, in the States, there's the Florida Building Code. It used to be the South Florida Building Code. But the building code, like the mayor said, is very stringent, one of the most stringent in the nation. And we abide by that, and it's enforced by very competent people at the building department and Miami-Dade County. I have no doubt, and that there are safeguards in place, including the most important, which is the 40-year recertification, of which my company, we've done hundreds and hundreds of these up and down the coast. And this 40-year recertification was put in place to avoid things such as this. And we've picked up so many clues during our inspections to avoid this kind of disaster. So to me, my professional opinion is, we've got many safeguards in place. This is just an anomaly. And like I said, all these engineers, we're all still scratching our head and look forward to what the findings are from the forensic engineer to see if there's anything that can be done, either make the code more strong or make the 40-year certifications more detailed so that this kind of thing can never occur again.
Greg Battista, thank you very much for your insight this morning.